everyone, it's very nice to meet you again with the Disney Artist channel. In today's video it will be the character Queen Shuriki from the series Elena of Avalor. Shuriki is the main antagonist of both Elena and the Secret of Avalor in the first half of the Disney Channel animated series Elena of Avalor. She was an evil power-hungry sorceress from the Northern Islands. 41 years in the past, Shuriki was a powerful presence in the Northern Islands. She sought to invade other kingdoms, but was prevented by the rulers of those kingdoms' allies, Avalor. Since then she has sought to rule the Jovial Kingdom. She allied herself with the nephew of the kingdom's monarch, Esteban, and the royal treasurer's son Victor Delgado, and offered them power in exchange for helping her seize the throne. Shuriki agreed to keep Esteban's family safe from harm during her invasion. But she unabashedly broke her promise and murdered the then rulers, King Raul and Queen Lucia, without a qualm. Shuriki was confronted by their eldest daughter Elena, but her efforts were futile as Shuriki blasted her with magic, apparently killing her as well. Unbeknownst to Shuriki, Elena's magical amulet protected the princess by trapping her inside. It was recovered by Avalor's royal sorcerer, Alcazar, who left the kingdom in search of a way to free Elena and save the kingdom. Before he did so, Alcazar cast a spell to protect the remaining members of the royal family of Avalor by placing them inside an enchanted painting which even Shuriki's magic could not harm, leading her to ultimately cover it with a tapestry since it couldn't be moved. With the royal family eliminated, Shuriki assumed the throne. In violation of their agreement, Shuriki had Victor and his family banished forever, and named a remorseful Esteban as the new Chancellor of Avalor. She forced the royal guard to wear black, and the citizens of Avalor were left to suffer her tyranny. Shuriki stripped away many of Avalor's cultural traditions and heritage, particularly music, and also banned the use and practice of magic, excluding herself, likely to ensure that no one could learn it and pose a threat to her, which led to Firo being banished from Avalor, while Alcazar's grandson, Mateo, would eventually learn magic in secret. Shuriki had kidnapped the Noblins and held them prisoner, forcing them to turn the objects they touched into gold to make her rich. Much of this gold she used to pay off Raul's nephew, Duke Cristobal of the city of Nueva Vista. In exchange, Cristobal swore fealty to Shuriki, leaving no one left to challenge her. Shuriki's actions were not documented outside the kingdom's perimeter. However, as neighboring kingdoms such as Enchantia fully believed Shuriki to be the rightful ruler of Avalor, and had no idea of the true circumstances of how she assumed power. Shuriki is a powerful and knowledgeable sorceress. Her magic manifests as a green energy bolt from her wand whenever she casts spells. Her signature spell is Vidissima, a spell that she used to obliterate King Raul and Queen Lucia and attempted to use on Elena had the amulet not protected her. She could also cast a spell, Obscuras, which summons dark thundering clouds to engulf Avalor in darkness. Shuriki could create magical cages which she used to imprison the Noblins in her dungeon. Shuriki can summon a cloud of green smoke which allows her to fly and levitate. She can turn herself into a smoke cloud as she did when she chased after the king and queen's carriage. She appeared to be skilled in age spells, allowing her to maintain her youth for 41 years, even after her wand was broken. Shuriki could restore her youth using a magical jewel from Marimonda's cave. Shuriki could create a new wand, however she needs a gem containing powerful magic to do so. In addition, she claimed she could make Victor and Carla Malvagos at her full power and is shown to be skilled in alchemy, able to brew a shape-shifting potion for Carla. Her magic is implied to be more powerful than Firo's as he resigned to banishment during her rule and didn't return until after she was overthrown. Shuriki's magic is dependent on her wand. As with many sorcerers, she has little power without it. If it is destroyed, all the spells she cast with it are broken, causing her to turn into an old woman and the bars of the Noblins' prison disappearing upon the destruction of her first wand. Her magic is also unable to bypass certain enchantments as she states her magic could not harm the remaining royals so long as they were inside Alcazar's enchanted painting. 41 years after her hostile takeover, Shuriki agreed to a meeting with the rulers of the Kingdom of Enchantia to discuss trade relations. During their visit, Shuriki makes an effort to keep her status as a sorceress under wraps. though her aggression nearly exposes her for the tyrant she is on a number of occasions. Esteban is always there to keep her true status as a usurper a secret. However, the trade visit is actually a cover-up for the ulterior motive of King Roland II and Queen Miranda's daughter, Princess Sophia. She had been visited by Alcazar prior to the trip, who instructed Sophia to find the spirit Zuzo, who will guide her in freeing Elena from the amulet which fell into Sophia's possession over time. To do so, Shuriki's wand is needed, and through careful cunning, Sophia manages to steal it. This went over Shuriki's head as she instead focuses on her diplomatic duties. As she was signing Roland's trade agreement, Elena suddenly arrives in the castle. Elena exposes Shuriki's corruption to Roland and Miranda, who all get captured and imprisoned by Shuriki's guards along with their other children, Princess Amber and Prince James. Elena, now in control of Shuriki's wand, tries to fight back but to no avail. She escapes while Sophia's family remained in peril. Having heard of all the wonderful material and cultural riches Enchantia had to offer from Roland during the trade talks, Shuriki also plans to invade it and invoke her tyrannical rule on Enchantia's people as well. Shuriki furiously ordered her guards to find and capture Elena and Sophia. But as time went on without word of her whereabouts, the sorceress quickly began losing her patience, going so far as to threaten Esteban for showing concern towards his cousin. Meanwhile, Elena and Sophia managed to free Sophia's family as well as Elena's. They left the castle and gathered the citizens of Avalor to ignite a revolution against Shuriki's wrath. As they invade the castle, Shuriki plunges the kingdom into darkness and aims to kill Elena, but her wand was stolen by Esteban in an act of heroism, who gives it to Elena. Shuriki initially showed no fear knowing Elena's lack of control over her wand's magic, but instead of using it to strike Shuriki, Elena snapped it in half. Having invested so much of her power into her wand, Shuriki rapidly began to age to her true form, becoming shriveled and weak. Finally, she fell into a panic, causing herself to fall over the castle bridge and down a waterfall. However, she manages to survive the fall, with everyone believing that she had died. Shuriki appears in the prologue of First Day of Rule, detailing her invasion of Avalor, her first battle against Elena and her defeat. She and her rule of Avalor are referenced by many of the characters in the series. In the first episode, it is mentioned that she forced some noblins to work for her and forced them to turn items into gold. The destruction of Shuriki's wand allowed the noblins, with Elena's eventual assistance, to return to their homeland. In the special Realm of the Joaquins, she returns, revealing that she has been living in a small shack deep in the jungle, with Victor Delgado doing her bidding in return for teaching him and his daughter Carla magic. She drains the magic from a jewel they stole that was used to imprison the forest sprite Marimonda in the Jaquine realm of Valestrella to become young again. It appears that Victor's been working with her for some time, but Carla is surprised to see her. Shuriki explains that she doesn't have her full powers back yet, but once she does, she will make them both Malvagos and they will take over Avalor together. It is revealed in The Jewel of Maru that Victor and Carla have been recovering gems for Shuriki to use to craft a new wand, but grows impatient with the little magic the gems they bring to her, and dispatches them to recover the powerful Jewel of Maru from the capital Tepet Mul of the fallen kingdom of Maru. They manage to gain possession of it but ultimately lose it thanks to Elena, forcing them to give up and return to Shuriki without it, while Elena seals it away permanently. In Royal Rivalry, Shuriki and the Delgados are heading south in a carriage and narrowly evade discovery from the Joaquins by hiding it in a bush. Shuriki then vows to get rid of the Joaquins after she gets rid of Elena and makes Avalor hers once more. Carla interrupts Shuriki's rant to complain about how she is not as prominent on the Delgados' wanted posters despite being as wanted as her father is. Shuriki face palms and Victor rolls his eyes, muttering, "Kids today." Shuriki reminds the Delgados that because they failed to get her the Jewel of Maru, they must enter the kingdom of Paraiso to find a jewel with enough magic for her to make a new wand for herself. The trio then set out for Paraiso. Later, Shuriki and the Delgados are on the road to the kingdom of Paraiso. However, they go too fast, causing their coach to crash. The trio then continues their trek on horses. Shuriki and the Delgados finally arrive at the border between Avalor and Paraiso, only to find guards on the lookout for them, forcing Shuriki to change her plans. Carla sees a wanted poster of the Delgados, which she likes, as her part of the picture is more noticeable. To which Victor and Shuriki both groan and roll their eyes in annoyance. As Avalor is preparing for the Jakin festival in A Spy in the Palace, Shuriki brews up a shape-shifting potion for Carla to drink, allowing her to disguise herself as Rita Perez, a distant cousin of Armando, so she can sneak into the royal treasury and steal Queen Lucia's Carnival tiara, as Shuriki can use the jewel in it to craft a new wand for herself. Though the plan works and Carla is able to mingle among the Avalor citizens without suspicion, even getting close to Elena and Naomi, she is unable to retrieve the tiara yet. And Victor warns her upon finding her during the festival that the potion won't last forever. So Carla needs to get the tiara as soon as possible so Shuriki can take her revenge on Elena and the Joaquins and usurp the throne again. In Science Unfair, after failing twice to sneak into the royal treasury and steal the Queen Lucia's Carnival tiara, Carla later returned to Shuriki's hut. Shuriki is not pleased that Carla still hasn't gotten the tiara, but Carla tells her about a powerful Malvago named Firo who is frozen like a statue in the palace's garden and Mateo's reversal potion. She then explains how she plans to use the potion to restore Firo, so he can help them steal the tiara. Shuriki approves of this plan, knowing that with Firo's help, retaking Avalor from Elena will be much easier with his support. Carla soon returns to Shuriki in Rise of the Sorceress with bad news. Her shape-shifting potion is finally wearing off, but Shuriki refuses to give her more due to her failure to either retrieve Lucia's tiara or get Mateo's reversal potion. When Carla reveals that Elena is preparing for the Sunflower Festival, Shuriki decides to use it to her advantage to sneak into the palace, revive Firo, and then break into the royal treasury to get the tiara. While Carla manages to steal the key to Mateo's lab from Mateo and get the reversal potion, her giving it to Shuriki is witnessed by Naomi Turner, allowing her to realize the severity of the situation. Shuriki uses the potion to revive Firo, who is still angry with Shuriki for banishing him like she did the Delgados after she took over Avalor, and only agrees to help her if she helps him get the Codex Maru from Mateo. Firo and Shuriki reach an agreement and break into the royal treasury, get Lucia's tiara, and Shuriki uses the jewel in it to craft a new wand for herself. Firo fails to get the Codex Maru, only escaping with a few blank pages thanks to Mateo, but they soon run into Elena and Naomi. Elena is horrified to see Shuriki is still alive and allied with the Delgados and Firo, but before Shuriki can use her new wand to strike down Elena, taunting Elena that she no longer has the amulet of Avalor to protect her like before, Mateo arms her with the Scepter of Light, which Elena uses to destroy Shuriki's new wand. Having lost her new wand so soon after getting it, Shuriki is forced to retreat again. However, Firo restores the pages he managed to steal from the Codex Maru, revealing a way for Shuriki to defeat Elena, but only if she makes him Royal Malvago when she takes over again, which she agrees to. Elena has Gabe summon the royal guards to pursue Shuriki and her party while she suspects this is the test forewarned about by Kita Maz, to defeat Shuriki, once and for all. In the following episode, shapeshifters, the pages Firo stole or revealed to lead to the pieces of the Scepter of Light's dark counterpart, the Scepter of Night, which Alakazar broke up and hid while concealing the information written in the Codex Maru with a spell to render the pages blank. Elena, Mateo, and Gabe realize the Scepter of Night must be what Shuriki is after now in order to be on even ground with the Scepter of Light, and realize they have to get the pieces first before Shuriki does. With the information provided by the pages Firo stole from the Codex Maru, in the episode The Scepter of Night, Shuriki, Firo, and the Delgados head for Tepet Mool. As the riddle Firo read from the pages indicate that the first piece of the Scepter of Night is located in one of the pyramids there. Shuriki grows frustrated by Victor and Carla when they get into an argument with Firo due to Shuriki naming Firo her Royal Malvago while they will only be regular Malvagos when she takes over Avalor again. But once they find the pyramid the piece is in, they encounter Elena with her friends and the Joaquins. in an attempt to lure them away from the pyramid so they can get the scepter piece. Shuriki and Carla retreat in Shuriki's carriage as a decoy, while Firo and Victor, who tagged along without Firo knowing it, tail Elena and Matteo to the room where the scepter piece was hidden. However, by the time Firo and Victor return to where Shuriki and Carla are, they reveal Elena has the first piece, but they know the riddle Alcazar left behind that leads to the next one. An idea that Carla comes up with impresses Shuriki, thinking there's hope for Carla yet, and after Victor and Firo climb into the carriage while still bickering and struggling with each other. Shuriki's crew set off to find the second piece, unaware that Elena and her friends would be right behind them to stop them from getting the second piece as well. In the follow-up episode, The Race for the Realm, Shuriki learns that the second piece of the Scepter of Night is in the Jakeen homeworld of Valistrella. But disgusted by the thought of needing a Jakeen to get into Valistrella, let alone ride one, learns that she can speak to Troyo to find one that will help her. When her group sees Matteo and Gabe returning to the palace with Miggs and Dulce, Shuriki and Firo decide to go after Elena and Naomi while having the Delgados go after the boys. With Shuriki having Firo make the Delgados Malvagos immediately, so they can catch up to Matteo and Gabe. Afterward, Shuriki and Firo meet up with Troyo, who agrees to take them to Joaquin's, who will help them, the Joaquin's being Cruz, and his sister Vestia, who busted him out of his imprisonment just recently. With their help, Shuriki and Firo enter Valistrella and soon learn from the Flaringos that Elena and Naomi are on their way to the location of the jewel to the Scepter of Night. When they find Elena and Naomi, blinded by her vengeance, Elena goes after Shuriki and Cruz, only for Shuriki and Cruz to force Elena to exhaust herself by overuse of the Scepter of Light, allowing them to rejoin Firo, who had to acquire the jewel and the mount which Naomi had been holding onto, allowing them to retreat back to Avalor, where the Delgados succeeded with getting the staff back from Matteo and Gabe. With all three pieces in her possession, Shuriki reforms the Scepter of Night, and then is told by Firo that he needs to teach her how to use it properly before launching her second takeover of Avalor. Shuriki is quick to have Firo get to work tutoring her on using the Scepter of Night properly. Unaware that Elena has been taken by Kita Maz to be trained on unlocking the full powers of the Scepter of Light as well. However, in A Tale of Two Scepters, Shuriki is having difficulty mastering even the basics of spells with the Scepter of Night, such as its power of destruction, using some totems as target practice, putting the rest of her allies at risk. However, when Troyo reports that Elena just passed their hideout with Skylar, probably heading for Valistrella to train with the Scepter of Light, Shuriki sends Cruz to follow her and report back on her activities. By the time Cruz returns with news of Elena's training with the Sunbird Elders, Shuriki has managed to master the destruction spell, but wanting to face Elena now, she demands Firo to teach her the stronger spells the Scepter of Night possesses. Though reluctant to do so, Firo concedes and teaches Shuriki the Dark Fire spell, only for Shuriki to find herself fatigued afterward, realizing that, like with Elena and her Scepter of Light, the Scepter of Night drains the user's energy with constant use, exhausting them. Despite that, Shuriki sets off on Cruz to cause some trouble in Avalor, luring Elena and Skylar back from Valistrella in the process, and as Elena chases Shuriki down, it results in them returning to the royal palace. Despite being very fatigued from using the Scepter of Night against Elena, Shuriki spots Isabel heading to her tower to practice and decides to use that to her advantage by providing a distraction for Elena to deal with so Shuriki and Cruz can escape. Using the Dark Fire spell, Shuriki engulfs Isabel's tower in the sinister purple flames, forcing Elena to rescue her little sister while Shuriki and Cruz escape. Back at the hideout, Troyo takes his leave, while Firo decides it might be best to find another place to hide in the jungle if Elena knows where they are now. Shuriki agrees, and she and Firo are last seen flying into the jungle on Cruz and Vestia as Elena watches them through the Scepter of Light's Farsight spell. In Song of the Serenas, Shuriki is with Firo, riding on Cruz and Vestia, when they hear the bells announcing Elena's arrival to Nueva Vista, much to Shuriki's annoyance. However, after talking with Firo and being joined by the Delgados, Shuriki vows that this summer vacation will be one that Elena and her family will never forget. They are soon spotted by Miggs, Luna, and Skylar, who attempt to engage them. But Shuriki provides a distraction to allow her group to escape and plan a trap for Elena in Nueva Vista. During the parade to celebrate Elena's first victory over Shuriki, while the Delgados act as decoys to lure Elena's protection in the Joaquins, Gabe, Mateo, and Naomi away from her, the gondoliers driving Elena's float to turn it into a side channel. Before running away, leaving Elena to face Shuriki and Firo alone. Realizing she's outmatched, Elena attempts to escape by making herself invisible. But a necklace she was given by Duke Cristobal fails to be cloaked with her. This allows Shuriki to spot the princess and disorient her with the Scepter of Night, knocking her into the water to drown, where she is saved by Marissa. Thinking Elena is finished, Shuriki confronts Isabel, Francisco, Luisa, and Esteban with her crew and locks them up in the tower. Cristobal arrives afterward to congratulate Shuriki and reveals that Elena lives, and he locked her in the tower with her family. Furious to learn Elena is still alive, Shuriki orders Cristobal to take her to the tower to deal with Elena for good, only to find the royal family being rescued by Mateo, Gabe, Naomi, and the Joaquins. Pursuing them to the harbor, Shuriki gives pursuit of the royal yacht on Cristobal's personal yacht, only to then take flight on cruise to face Elena on Skylar after the Duke's ship is run aground by King Pescoro and his people. Shuriki manages to hit Skylar with her spell that causes disorientation, causing him to crash. Elena's allies fight Shuriki's allies, ending with Firo's petrification and Cristobal's capture. Whilst the Delgados escape, Elena and Shuriki battle on their respective Joaquins, firing spells at each other. Eventually, Shuriki disorients Skylar and knocks him down. Elena injures Cruz, who flies off in frustration, but Shuriki fires her Inferno spell at the Scepter of Light, knocking it out of Elena's hands and causing it to malfunction. With the Scepter of Light disabled, Shuriki corners Elena in the tower. She takes aim at Elena with the Scepter of Night, mockingly bidding her farewell and threatening to going after her family afterwards. Shuriki unleashes her Demolish spell, and the princess vanishes, having seemingly been defeated. As Shuriki assumes victory, Elena whispers "Missed me," and appears behind her, having mastered her Vanish spell. Shuriki recoils in horror in her final moments as Elena swiftly fires her Blaze spell at the sorceress, killing her and avenging her parents. Elena sustains the blaze, which destroys not just Shuriki, but most of the Scepter of Night, leaving nothing left of them but the jewel. Cruz makes off with the jewel and later reunites with the Delgados. He informs her that the jewel is all that is left of Shuriki, but Victor sees the Jewel of Night's magic as a chance to finish what Shuriki started. The Delgados and the Joaquin twins fly off, whilst Cristobal, as punishment for his betrayal, is locked up in the tower. With Shuriki gone, Elena's family and Avalor as a whole is safe for now, and has a newfound friendship with the Serenas as of the Tides of Change. However, throughout the second half of the series, Shuriki remains influential even after her demise. The Inferno spell she used on Elena's scepter causes it to frequently malfunction, as shown in The Tides of Change, The Return of El Capitan, and Movin' On Up. In Not Without My Magic, the dark magic from Shuriki's scepter has neutralized Elena's scepter, requiring it to be fixed by the Sunbird Elders of Valestrella. At the end of the episode, it is revealed by Kita Maz that facing Shuriki was not her big test to become Queen of Avalor, and that the darkness she must face is much more powerful. Meanwhile, the jewel from Shuriki's scepter falls into the hands of the Delgados' long-lost matriarch, Ash, who attempts to use it to drain Elena of her magic in the Season 2 finale, Naomi Knows Best. However, the family is thwarted, and Elena and her friends soon begin their hunt for Ash, who they deem an even bigger threat than Shuriki. At the beginning of Season 3 in the 1-hour special, The Magic Within, Elena sadly remembers the day that Shuriki arrived happening during Carnival season when her parents were working on the float. When Flo asks who Shuriki is, Elena explains to her what the sorceress did to her parents and kingdom, and in doing so, realizes that she never got to see their final Carnival float. However, the family remembers that Esteban saw the float and asks him what it looked like. When Esteban refuses, Flo suggests Elena uses her scepter's truth vision to see what it looked like, causing Esteban to panic. This draws suspicion from Elena, who uses her scepter to reveal where Esteban was when her parents were working on the float. The visions shows a young Esteban and Victor, 44 years in the past, rowing Shuriki into Avalor from the northern islands, before leading her to both the palace and the king and queen where she can begin her invasion. This revelation splits the family in two, as Esteban is eventually imprisoned and banished for his crimes of helping Shuriki kill Raul and Lucia. However, thanks to a key he hid away during Shuriki's reign, he escapes with the Delgados. In Coronation Day, a puppet of Shuriki appears near the beginning of the episode during the performance depicting her defeat at the hands of Elena, alongside many other pivotal events that occurred within the previous 4 years. When Francisco regrets not forgiving Esteban when they had the chance, Elena reminds him that he helped Shuriki invade the kingdom and that such an action is unforgivable. In the second third of the episode, Shuriki appears as a green spirit. Having passed on to the spirit world after her death, she spectates the Olaball tournament between Elena and Ash Delgado. When Elena struggles during the match, she reveals that she felt guilty for not saving them from Shuriki, but brought her to justice and must do the same to Esteban for helping her. They calm her down by telling her that her job is to protect the kingdom rather than getting revenge for what happened to them, as it will not bring them back, but only lead to bad decisions. Elena realizes she was right and begins to doubt if she'll ever be a good leader. To console her, Raul made many mistakes when ruling the kingdom. He later reveals that he had prevented Shuriki from invading their allies, but made the mistake of not considering that Shuriki would set her sights on Avalor out of revenge. Esteban attempted to warn Raul, but he did not listen, and instead sided with Shuriki, and thus compromised the kingdom. This revelation changes Elena's mindset, making her willing to learn from her mistakes. Later on, when Esteban invades Avalor with the 4 Shades of Awesome, he brings up Raul's ignorance of his warning about Shuriki to his grandparents as one of the many instances of him being ignored to argue why he should be king. However, Esteban's grandparents are petrified by Kahu, and she reveals her treachery by taunting him over making the same mistake he made with Shuriki, trusting those who pretend to listen. In the final third of the episode, when Elena is defeated by Ash, Shuriki's spirit smiles, eating popcorn in the process. However, much to everyone's surprise, Ash's reward would be to remain in the spirit world forever, whilst Elena's punishment would be to return home to the living realm. There, she finally forgives Esteban for helping Shuriki, whilst Esteban redeems himself by saving Elena from being struck down by Kahu the same way his aunt and uncle were taken by Shuriki 45 years ago. This forgiveness is enough to defeat the 4 Shades of Awesome, save the kingdom, and pass Elena's test, allowing her to finally become queen. Her name is a reference to the kanji in the phrase, power to end everything, すべてを終わる力, hence her goal to kill the king and queen of Avalor. Shuriki's shares noticeable similarities with Mother Gothel from Tangled, not only with elements of magic and aging but also animation. Shuriki's movements when she reveals the enchanted painting to Elena are identical to Gothel's movements during her scene in which she strikes a deal with the Stabbington brothers. Both also lose their power and look when the magical source of them are destroyed, Shuriki's wand and Rapunzel's hair respectively, and fall from great heights afterward, though unlike Gothel. Shuriki survived. Shuriki's spell, the one she used to murder Elena's parents and which she also tried to use on her, appears to be based on the killing curse from Harry Potter. Both are green and both have an instantly fatal effect on living beings unless said beings are protected by immensely powerful magic, the Amulet of Avalor in Elena's case, and his mother's loving sacrificial protection in Harry's case. Shuriki is the only magic user that uses a wand in Elena of Avalor. She is also the only one who is called as a sorceress. All other magic users use tamburitas and are called wizards. According to Craig Gerber, Shuriki's promise to turn the Delgados into Malvagos was a lie, as she was not a Malvago herself. In Rise of the Sorceress, Shuriki wears a robe and sun hat when Victor and Carla sneak her to Firo. This is the same disguise she had used to infiltrate Avalor 43 years prior. As revealed in The Magic Within, Shuriki is the 3rd character in the series to die, followed by King Raul and Queen Lucia. According to Craig Gerber, Shuriki's death was purposefully framed to make it appear as though she was trapped within the scepter of Night's Jewel. This was done to avoid the episode from being censored as well as to avoid potentially frightening younger audiences. The series finale later confirms her death through her depiction as a spirit. First is to fill the skin, then color the black hair and wear the slippers for Shuriki. Next is to wearing an outfit and wear the earrings for Shuriki. Finally, draw the hairstyle and then make the face for Shuriki. So the character Queen Shuriki from the series Elena of Avalor has been completed. Now if you like this video tutorial, please like and subscribe button to receive the new notify. At the same time download the app and go to the website DisneyStore to shopping online as well as Disney Plus to watch some movies and TV shows for free, used by many peoples of the world. Okay, we'll see you again tomorrow with some Disney characters will be appear right now, so thanks for watching and goodbye everyone.